You know, for as long as humans have been around, we've looked up at the night sky and just wondered. We've seen stories in the stars, we've traced shapes in the chaos, and we've searched for answers about ourselves in that huge, silent darkness. Today, we're going to dive deep into that ancient practice, astrology.
And really, it all boils down to this one pretty powerful question, right? It's a question that connects ancient priests in Babylon to the Horoscope app on your phone. This is the central mystery we're going to explore. So here's our roadmap. We'll start with astrology as a map in the stars, then dig into its history as a serious scholarly tradition. After that, we'll get into the great scientific divide, ask why we still look up, and finally, ponder the big one. Does the universe know your name?
All right, so let's jump in. It's kind of funny to think about. But before astrology was just a daily column in a newspaper, it was a total heavyweight. I mean, it was a respected academic tool, tangled up with the most important sciences of the day.
Okay, so this timeline really puts things into perspective, right? We're not talking about some recent trend. This goes way, way back. You can see it started in Mesopotamia almost 4,000 years ago. Then it popped up in China, got mixed with Egyptian ideas in ancient Alexandria, and was later saved and built upon by Islamic scholars in Baghdad. And get this, it wasn't until the 12th century that these ideas made their way back to Europe, influencing even the giants of the scientific revolution. I mean, guys like Kepler and Galileo, they were still working as professional court astrologers. Wild.
And check this out. This is a zodiac man from a manuscript from the 15th century. It just shows you how deeply astrology was woven into everything. For most of history, it wasn't some separate woo-woo thing. It was part of the whole shebang. It was tied to astronomy, obviously, but also to medicine. This diagram literally maps out which astrological signs were believed to rule different parts of the body. That idea directly shaped how doctors would diagnose and treat people for centuries.
Something that's super important to get is that astrology isn't just one single thing. Not at all. The Western tradition we're most familiar with uses what's called the tropical zodiac. It's lined up with the seasons. But in India, they use Vedic astrology, or Jyotish, which uses the sidereal zodiac. It's lined up with the actual constellations. And it's not just a hobby. It's a living, breathing part of the culture that guides huge life decisions, like picking the perfect wedding date or even what to name your kid.
So, if astrology was this big-shot scholarly tradition for thousands of years, what happened? How did we get to where we are now? Well, let's talk about the moment everything changed. When its twin, astronomy, basically packed its bags and moved out.
Yeah, the scientific revolution, it was a total game changer. I mean, a seismic shift. All these new ideas, like heliocentrism, the fact that the Earth goes around the sun, not the other way around, and Newton's laws of gravity, they just completely shattered the old Earth-centered model of the universe. And once that foundation started to crumble, astrology's place in the academic world just fell apart.
So when science looks at astrology today, the critique really comes down to two big ideas from a couple of heavy-hitting philosophers. First, you've got Karl Popper's concept of falsifiability. Basically, for something to be scientific, you have to be able to prove it wrong. But with astrology, if a prediction doesn't come true, there's always an explanation to save it, so you can never really falsify it. Then there's Thomas Kuhn, who pointed out that it's not empirical. See, when an astronomer's prediction fails, it's a puzzle that can lead to a new discovery. For an astrologer, a failure doesn't really force them to change the whole system.
And yet, here we are. Despite everything science says, millions and millions of people still find real meaning and guidance in astrology. So why? Why do we still look up? Turns out the answer might not be in the stars, but inside our own heads.
Okay, so one of the biggest reasons horoscopes can feel so spot on is this little psychological quirk called the Barnum effect. It's named after P.T. Barnum, the circus guy. It's basically our brain's tendency to believe that really vague, general statements are somehow incredibly accurate descriptions of us personally.
Just listen to this for a second, and tell me if it rings a bell for you. You have a need for other people to like and admire you, and yet you tend to be critical of yourself. Sound familiar? It sounds specific, but let's be real. That describes almost everybody. That right there is the Barnum effect in action, and it's the secret sauce that makes so many horoscopes feel eerily correct.
And for a lot of skeptics out there, that's pretty much case closed. You see comments like this one from a Reddit user all the time. It's blunt, but it captures that view perfectly. It's all just the Barnum effect. End of story.
But you know, it's not just a simple cognitive trick. There's something deeper going on here. Astrology really taps into these fundamental human needs we all have. It gives us a narrative, a story that plugs our little individual lives into this huge cosmic drama. It gives us a framework to understand ourselves in a world that can feel pretty random, and it offers something psychologists call cognitive closure, that satisfying feeling of having a firm answer instead of just not knowing.
Now, here's a really interesting take. A lot of people who actually use astrology today aren't even trying to argue that it's a hard science. They see it more like this user does, as a useful tool. They're not looking for a scientific cause. They're focused on whether it's useful for them.
And then, of course, you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the hardcore skeptical view. For this person, the only thing that matters is the lack of scientific evidence. It's black and white. If it's not proven by science, it's just nonsense.
But then there's this third way of looking at it, right? The pragmatist view. And it asks a totally different question. If it's helping you, if it's making you feel better or giving you insight, does it even matter if it's scientific? Here, the focus isn't on proof, it's on personal results.
Okay, so where does that leave us? We've got this ancient, once-respected system that science completely dismisses, but that millions of people still connect with on a really deep level. Let's try to pull these threads together.
I think this metaphor really gets to the heart of it. It perfectly captures why astrology just won't go away. We are storytellers. We are creatures who crave meaning so much that we'd rather use a map that might be flawed than have no map at all and just wander around, lost.
And really, when you strip everything else away, maybe that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter if you think it's science, pseudoscience, or just a beautiful set of symbols. Astrology sticks around because it speaks to this incredibly deep, ancient part of us. The need to believe, even for a moment, that in this impossibly vast cosmos, the universe somehow knows your name.